Hi, and welcome back to Core 4 Adventures. I'm Carol.
And I'm Laura.
And when you go on a cruise, there are a lot of terms that are used that you may not be familiar with. We ran into this when we first started cruising. So what we thought we would do today is really go through some of those cruise terms that you need to know if you are going on your first cruise.
But first, we really would like to invite you to like and subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We put out new content every week and we don't want you to miss any of it.
So the first term that we're going to talk about today is embarkation. This means that is the day that you are getting on the ship for the very first time. So you're going to hear things like embarkation day, embark, the embarkation process, and that's really what it means. It's the first time that you are getting on the ship for the first day of your cruise.
The next thing we're going to talk about is the opposite of embarkation, or disembarkation. Obviously, the last day of the cruise is disembarkation day, and you'll hear lots of things about that. But they'll also talk about disembarking for cruise ports as well.
Disembarkation day makes me sad.
Very sad. It's my least favorite day of the trip.
Next up, there's some terms that they use to talk about locations on the ship, and it helps get you oriented to where you are. So first up is the term port. They use port to describe the left side of the ship if you are facing forward. So if somebody says it's on the port side of the ship, if you can find the forward of the ship, it's to the left.
An opposite of that is starboard. Starboard's going to be the right side of the ship when you're facing forward.
Other things that you're going to hear in terms of location on the ship is forward. Forward means the bow of the ship, the front of the ship. It's the direction that you're going when you're moving forward in the ocean.
And the opposite of that is the aft, or the back of the ship, which is a really great place to go and watch the wake when you're cruising.
It's one of my favorite spots on the ship. Sticking with the theme of locations on the ship, the next term that you may not be familiar with is the Lido deck. So the Lido deck really refers to a deck on the upper part of the ship where the pools are, where you're going to find bars, entertainment, sun loungers. So you're going to spend a lot of time on the Lido deck. That's where a lot of the parties happen as well.
Another deck on the ship that's a very popular area to hang out is the promenade deck. The promenade deck is a lower deck on the ship that goes all the way around the ship, or most of the way around the ship. You're going to find a lot of cool seating areas and other little hidden gems to hang out in and just watch the view.
Next up, you may hear the term bridge from time to time. When you hear the word bridge, it doesn't mean something that gets you from one side of a body of water to the other. It's talking about the navigational center of the ship. This is where the captain and the crew are going to be driving the boat. And sometimes you can get a tour of that. You have to check in with your individual cruise line.
The next part of the ship we're going to discuss is the MDR, or main dining room. If you see it abbreviated, it can be very confusing at first, but the main dining room is pretty self-explanatory. It's where you're going to go and have a sit-down meal that's covered in your cruise fare.
Another area of the ship that you're going to spend a lot of time in is your stateroom. This is your cabin on the cruise. This is where you're going to be sleeping every night, keeping all of your belongings, and getting ready every day. So this is your private area of the ship, and that is one of the biggest things that is part of your cruise fare.
So now that we've talked about a few places on the ship, let's talk about a few people on the ship. The first one, since we just finished with the stateroom, is your stateroom attendant, or steward. Your steward is going to be the person that you need to ask for anything that you want for your stateroom. Any kind of special needs that you have, you will convey that to your steward, and they're going to be the person who cleans your room every day.
Another person on the ship that you may not hear of this term in normal life is a purser. This is a specific person on the ship that is really responsible for all of the money and financial transactions. You'll often find the purser in the guest services area.
Another term you may hear on the ship is the port of call. This is going to be the place that the ship stops in on a day, and you get to get off the ship and go explore that port of call.
And along with that is the term shore excursion. This is a planned activity when you are in a port of call. Now you can book shore excursions through the cruise line or through an independent third party, but it really adds all of the fun activities, parts, and experiences when you are on a cruise.
And so to get to that shore excursion, at your port of call, you need to get off the ship. And there are a couple different ways that you can do that. The first is through a gangway. When they get to port and they pull up to the dock, they're going to put a gangway out. It's a little portable bridge that they'll bring up to the ship to connect the ship to the shore, and you'll be able to walk along this gangway. Most times it's going to have handrails and going to be the easiest way to get off the ship.
And if you are not docking directly in port and using the gangway to get off the ship, and you're docking a little further away from port, you will take a tender. What is a tender? A tender is a boat. Sometimes it's the lifeboats that are on the ship, and they're smaller boats that get the people from the ship to the shore when they can't pull straight up to the dock.
So another term that you're going to definitely hear on a cruise ship is the muster drill. So every cruise line does it a little bit different, but you will have to do a muster drill. A lot of times it involves watching a video and going to check in at a muster station, or going to the muster station and listening to the information right there.
Onboard credit is a term that you will also hear on a cruise ship, and it is oftentimes abbreviated to OBC. Onboard credit is free money that you've been given either through a travel agent or the cruise line that you can spend while you are on the ship. So you can use it for things like shopping, pictures in the photography studio, or even booking shore excursions.
The next term we're going to talk about is duty free. That's one that can be a little confusing. You see that at airports too. What is duty free? Duty free means that you can purchase things that won't have to have the duties and taxes paid to bring them back into your country. And watch for sales of those duty free items. It's really going to save you a lot of money to wait for the sale day. Duty free is a really cool way to get things, but if you can get them on sale, it's even better.
Our final cruise term to talk about today is your key card or your cruise card. This is an ID card that you are given upon embarkation when you're checking in, and it is going to be your ID. You're going to use it to check in and off of the ship. You can use it to get into your cabin or stateroom, and it's also a way for you to pay for things on the ship, so it's a very, very useful tool.
Don't lose that cruise card.
And if you do, go down to the purser or the guest services to get a replacement.
Well, that about wraps it up for all of the cruise terms that we've thought of. Are there any cruise terms that you can think of that we forgot? We'd love to hear it in the comment section below. I guarantee we will answer.
And we'd like to take a moment to invite you to subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out and we greatly appreciate it. And if there is anything that you found helpful in this video today, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like more travel tips, click on the link right here below because we've got an entire playlist of travel tips for you.
Thanks again for watching Core 4 Adventures. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.